Have you noticed? Something strange is happening, and almost no one is talking about it. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, once viewed with neutrality or indifference, is now being watched. By governments. By the media. By religious leaders. And even by global movements. But why? What is behind this sudden focus on a church that supposedly does not seek prominence? What is the real reason for so much discomfort? If this topic intrigues you as much as it does us, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Here, we talk about what many avoid. With courage, faith, and a prophetic foundation. The silent growth. The Adventist Church does not appear in the news for political scandals. It is not on the campaign trail. It does not participate in the world's great ideological debates. And yet, it continues to grow. Today, there are more than 22 million members spread across more than 200 countries. It has a presence in schools, hospitals, universities, and humanitarian centers. All this without getting involved in alliances with the system. Without seeking approval from governments. And that is exactly what bothers people. While many groups grow through political support or aggressive marketing, the Adventist Church grows quietly, only through the power of the message it carries. A church that does not compromise its principles, that does not bow to pressure. That preaches a different lifestyle, ends up attracting attention. Not because of the noise it makes, but because of the impact it has without making noise. The message that bothers people. It's not just the growth. It's the content of the Adventist message that hurts interests, and causes discomfort. The observance of the Sabbath as a sign of faithfulness to the Creator, according to Exodus 20 verses 8 to 11. The clear denunciation of the system represented by Rome, revealed in Revelation 13. The identity of the remnant described in Revelation 12 verse 17. Those who keep God's commandments and have the testimony of Jesus. Clarity about the state of the dead. The truth about the investigative judgment. The preaching that we are living in the last moments of Earth's history. All of this confronts not only the secular world, but also doctrines that have become convenient for other churches. The Adventist message points out errors, idolatries, and deviations, even within the religious community. And that is uncomfortable. Because it shakes up structures. Because it shakes alliances. Because it exposes what many prefer to hide. This is a message that does not seek to please. It seeks only to obey the word. And because of this, it is becoming a threat to those who have settled into error. What about you? Do you believe that this message is uncomfortable because it is too biblical, or because it exposes truths that many prefer to ignore? Leave your comments here, I really want to know your opinion. The prophecy in progress. Nothing that is happening is by chance. Since the time of Jesus, true followers of the truth have always faced resistance. In John 16 verse 2, Christ left a solemn warning. They will expel you from the synagogues. Indeed, the hour is coming when whoever kills you will think he is offering worship to God. In Matthew 24 verse 9, he reinforced. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. The prophecy never promised applause for the faithful. It predicted opposition. It predicted persecution. It predicted isolation. And that is exactly what is beginning to take shape, little by little, on the world stage. In Revelation 13, we find the description of a system that mixes religion and politics. And imposes obedience not to God's commandments, but to human authority. This system promotes religious laws, controls consciences, and persecutes those who insist on keeping what God has commanded, especially the Sabbath. Now ask yourself, if the Adventist Church were just another church, if it posed no risk, if it didn't have a different, prophetic, and clear message, why then would so many forces be rising up against it? Why are topics such as Sabbath keeping, the investigative judgment, and the role of Rome being ignored by some, and fought against by others? The answer may lie in prophecy. We are living exactly what the Bible announced. The world is preparing for a scenario where few will be willing to obey. And those who remain faithful will be seen as a threat. The Adventist Church is not in the spotlight by chance. It is exactly where prophecy said the remnant people would be. At the center of the final conflict between truth and deception. Vigilance and discreet observation. There is a difference between being attacked and being carefully observed. Today, in many parts of the world, the Adventist Church does not suffer open persecution. But it suffers something just as dangerous: silent surveillance. Digital platforms monitor sermons. Some content is demonetized, hidden, or even removed, especially when it deals with the Sabbath, the judgment, or Rome's prophetic role. In certain countries, Adventists face restrictions on gathering or freely expressing their beliefs. Labor laws are created without any consideration for the Sabbath, and the right to conscientious objection is being ignored, step by step. And most alarmingly, the secular media has already begun to distort pastors' statements, portraying Adventist doctrine as religious extremism or outdated fundamentalism. All this under the guise of neutrality. But in practice, what is happening is a gradual siege. An effort to silence, discredit, and control the discourse of those who do not align with the values of the system. What does this reveal? That the Adventist Church is already seen as a problem, not because it attacks or confronts people, but because it insists on keeping God's commandments in a world that demands conformity. We are being monitored. Not with weapons, but with algorithms. With public policies. With discourses of tolerance that exclude those who do not conform. It is silent, strategic surveillance. But deeply spiritual. The final question: who is behind this focus? In light of all this, a question must be asked seriously. Who, in fact, is behind this growing interest in the Adventist Church? Could it be other churches, bothered by the clarity of Adventist doctrine? Could it be political groups, fearing a community that does not compromise its principles with the system? Could it be global institutions, concerned about the influence of a church that preaches against the union between religion and the state? These are possibilities. But the truth is even deeper, and more disturbing. Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. There is an invisible conflict. A spiritual war that transcends human and political explanations. Revelation 12 verse 12 says, Woe to those who dwell on the earth and in the sea. For the devil has come down to you with great wrath, knowing that he has only a short time. Satan knows what is at stake. He knows the prophetic role of the remnant people. And he is using every tool possible, political, religious, cultural, and technological, to neutralize that influence. The surveillance is not just institutional. It is spiritual. The trouble does not come only from the earth. It comes from the kingdom of darkness. Because when a church remains faithful to God's commandments, it becomes a direct threat to the empire of darkness. And that is why everyone is watching. It is not just curiosity. It is strategy. It is war. It is prophetic fulfillment. There is a clear pattern in history. When a church seeks to please the world, it is applauded. But when a church decides to obey God, above all else, it becomes persecuted. The Adventist Church is in the spotlight, not because it wants attention, but because it remains steadfast in a message that does not change with time. Because it does not accept alliances that compromise the truth. Because it denounces errors, exposes deception, and calls for total fidelity to what is written. And that, in the current scenario, is unforgivable to the system that is forming. The fact that so many voices are watching the Adventist Church may be one of the greatest signs that we are nearing the climax of the conflict between good and evil. Revelation 14 presents the threefold angelic message: a final warning to the world. And it is precisely this message that Adventists have been proclaiming. It is not about denominational pride. It is about prophetic faithfulness. And if you see all this happening, understand, it is not a coincidence. It is fulfillment. It is a sign. It is the end time. Get ready. Because the days of neutrality are over. And the time to take a stand has come. If this video made sense to you, don't leave without liking it. Comment below what you think about all this, your opinion is important. Share it with someone who needs to wake up. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because here we say what many are afraid to say. But what prophecy announced long ago. Until the next video. Stand firm. And be faithful.